Good morning, everybody. This is the Red All Over show on a Sunday morning, looking back at the performance against Lincoln City and then looking forward to a preview of Carlisle United away from home. So let's get all over it. First and foremost, I'm Andy Simcox, and we've got the incomparable Alan Smith. We've got Tracy Treasure Martin, host of the Instant Reaction Show. If you've not seen it from last night, watch it. It's a blinder. And we've got Tom the Merch Man, who we always tried to call Tom Silent Tom. But all of a sudden, instead of just doing finance and merch and what have you, all of a sudden, he comes across and talks with with Kieran Maguire about all things finance and football, and all of a sudden, he's got a taste for being in front of the camera. So good to see you again, Tom.
Good to be back. I think Craig wanted the morning off, so I'll step in as a sub.
Well, I think it's fair enough because both Craig and I, and Tracy and all, come to that matter, said our bit about yesterday's performance. And all I would say is this T-shirt is for you, Josh Atherton, because you know when to miss a game, don't you? You know which games to miss and when to not do this show. Thanks for that, Josh. I'll remember. So let's look back first. Tracy, you and I've said our bit, so let's see Alan and Tom for their views. See what they're going to say. Alan, off you go. Up and at 'em, Al.
Well, put it this way, going Doug Kane in our lifetime, Andy.
Our lifetime.
Get ready.
It's a long time.
Get ready. It was the biggest ever defeat at Oakwell in the third tier. We've seen history being made.
Oh, I'm so chuffed.
Performance yesterday. Disjointed, disgraceful, disappointing. And we only made one change to the side, who were 2-0 up against Bolton and pegged back to 2-2. Only one player missing, that was Donovan Pines. Now, nobody saw what was going to happen yesterday. You know, I said 4-0. That went down pan, didn't it? Big style.
But 4-0 to Al.
They come at us.
Who did you say 4-0 to Al?
I'm not saying a word. It wasn't them, put it that way.
So you went to goal, Artel, were you? You were 9 goals, Artel, weren't you?
And Jake were right what he said. They were up for it, Jake Tong. And they attacked us, they pressed us, they stopped us playing. We couldn't get out. First goal, we were up there all of a sudden. Big ball over the top. One player back to 2 of theirs. Wide open. I've never seen us wide open. And then what happens? I'm saying to Kate, second out, we need to come out and get next goal. We didn't get next goal, did we? Jordan Williams decides to come out, carries ball, gets ball taken off him. And I couldn't believe that guy who got second goal. He went through MDG, he went through Connell into 18-yard box as though it were like knife through butter. What defence? What defence doing? I thought, oh, come on, let's get back into it. No, we didn't do that again. MDG got robbed by East Stand yet again. A bit flat back heel to their player in space, nobody on him. And then he decides to run right defence and put it in. You're thinking, what's going off here? And then header out from defence, 35 yards out, wallop, 4-0. Oakwell emptied. And you're thinking...
I think it emptied at 3, Al. I think it emptied at 3, never mind 4.
It was so wrong. It was so wrong. And then we decide we scored a goal and we played music. Oh, put music on it, 4-1 down to get fans who were left in to cheer. Giola, you're having a laugh, aren't you? You're having a laugh. And then what happens then? Yeah, again, gets the ball, goes through, dribbles. We might as well have been dustbins in 18-yard box. Just went straight through, shot again across. Robert saves it, tapping, 5-1. And you're just thinking, well, last time I saw a 5-1, what I can remember, what Premiership, when we went up to Premiership, losing 5-1 at Oxford. And players didn't turn up then, but they got an excuse, hadn't they? They were celebrating. after beating Bradford are going up into the Premiership. So there's next year there was no excuse for that performance yesterday. Not one of them come out with any credit. And anybody who's saying Collins go, then scratch your head, because that is not Collins' fault. That's 11 players and substitutes who played yesterday, did not play for that shirt. They were horrendous. They were horrible. And as I say, pick yourself up for Tuesday night against Carlisle, and I think it's going to be tough. I think, and Herbie Kane walked off. I mean, what's that all about? If you're a player, you sit and take it with everybody else. You don't take your teddy and go into the dressing room. Sorry about that, Herbie, but you don't.
I think that the only thing I would say about it, Al, it's nice to see that 15 hours after the game ended that you've calmed down.
I'm taking extra blood pressure tablets this morning. I'll tell you, Andy. Don't worry about it.
I'm glad about that, Al. The only thing I'd say about Herbie, unless I'm mistaken, he was booked, and that's him out for the next 2 games. So the ones that don't think he should have the shirt, he's not going to have it for the next 2 games. I actually rate him as a player. I think he's been one of our best performers. Not yesterday. It didn't have a good game yesterday, but he was far from being alone. So I could understand him being. He shouldn't walk up. I can understand him being fed up, because it's a double-edged thing. You get a bad performance yourself as well as the team, and
especially what he got booked for, because didn't he get booked for dissent? And he's done all that where he's kept his foot out when maybe he could have put his foot in, and he's managed himself quite well, I think, over the last 3 or 4 games, not getting a booking. And then I thought he got it for dissent, I think. So it were a silly one as well. So he probably frustrated himself. I hope I'm defending him. I hope.
No, I would. It's too. We as a fan base, and I don't suppose we're on his own. You know, fans of all teams are very quick to get on players' backs. You know, Devante had it recently. Oh, he didn't celebrate, so that's it. He's not bothered. He didn't have a great game yesterday, but you can't. You can't say people aren't bothered. They don't go. I don't think any player goes out to play poorly. And collectively, we did yesterday. It was one of them things. You know, hopefully we'll put it right, and I think we need to put it right.
What I will say about Herbie, though, when he was substituted off, it was the slowest walk I've ever seen. McAtee were trying to push him and say, "Come on, let's get off at pitch." And at 1-0 down, because that's all it was at the time, we needed to get back into that game, and he's taking Mick, really, and I thought that were quite poor from him. I know he might be upset for whatever reason, but it's a team sport. You need to be a part of the team. And then, as Al says, he puts his big coat on and walks up tunnel.
Not a happy chappy. Well, no. I don't think he's on his own. That needs to have a look in the mirror and you know, come back out again, both on Tuesday and then next Saturday, and show us what he can do. You've said it though, Tom. You know, it was 1-0 when he came off, when he were brought off. I don't understand. You know, he's been brought up, and then what happened when he came off? Then what happened? Right, Tom, go on, say your bit then. 15 hours later, Tom, have you calmed down?
Well, I'm going to do my best impression of Al, because it was farcical, dismal, criminal, diabolical. Criminal, diabolical. It was terrible.
Too many Al's. Far too many.
Too many Al's.
You said many times, Tracy, on this show, too many Al's.
You're inspirational to me, Tom. You're inspirational to me, Tom.
Thank you. What I will say is, for 55 minutes, we were in game. And when Phillips went through basically one-on-one, he had so much time to pick a corner, have a shot, and then he tries to do, like, I can't even describe what the flick is. It's terrible. And poor Devante Cole wasn't expecting him to try and square it, because who would at that point? I mean, goals there to be had, and it just fizzles out into nothing. And that was just his attack every single time. Everything just seemed to, one more touch, one more pass, and it just fizzled into nothingness. And at that point, that was 1-0, and it could have been 1-1. And if we take some of those chances that we've had in first half and towards the first half of the second half, it's a different game. But we didn't, and that they countered us and well, hammered us from 55 minutes onwards. They just destroyed us. The setup, I would say, probably perfectly to cause us damage. They let us have the ball once they'd gone 1-0 up, and sort of just hit us on the break all the time, letting their wing backs run at us, and it just caused so many problems. I've just got to give credit to Lincoln. I thought they were really, really good, and the knew how to set up against us. But I thought we set up poorly, especially for that first goal, playing such a high line, knowing that they've got such quick wing backs. If you're going to play that system, you need a goalkeeper that's going to come and sweep up, and they need to be further up the pitch. Roberts is in his own 18-yard box when that ball's played over the top. Cadden doesn't track his man, so he's free on the left hand side, and Earl comes across to cover the ball, and there's nobody stood with their man he's just there for an easy tap in. And the reason you need a keeper that's going to do a sweeper keeper is to cut that ball out, because with so much space, it's a simple ball over top. It's not hard ball because there's that much space for him to run onto. If Roberts he's halfway in his own half and he's there, he can quickly run out and kick that ball away, but he's not in a great starting position, and it just caught us.
I thought it was a very strange goal, Tom, really. That I didn't look at what was going on around it, but I just noticed that there were a left-footed ball played out towards the left, and all of a sudden I looked, I followed the ball, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, where's the defence? There's just Josh Earl there, both at wing back and in the middle. He's on his own, thinking, well, which place shall I go to? And it's easy, isn't it? It's easy sat here on a Sunday morning. Looking back, it might have been better just to let him have it at an angle, but he's on his own, trying to defend with two players. That shouldn't happen.
No. We were just so aggressive, to be fair, because everybody had pushed forward. MDG at times were playing almost as a striker. We've got us both as wing backs playing so far up the field, and it just left us exposed at back. But if you're going to play that system, I mean, we played it under Val.
Yeah.
You need a keeper that can come and sweep up and try and mop those balls up at top. Otherwise, it's just so simple because you've got an entire half to run into.
It's not worked out that well for Val recently, has it?
No, I think he got sacked last night.
Got sacked last night, which I don't want anybody to lose their job.
That's what you get with vertical football, isn't it?
Well, it'd be nice to
risk and reward.
Been nice to see some vertical football yesterday. Or any football yesterday. What do you think about after we went to goal down after 15 minutes? What did you think about the rest of the first half performance?
I thought we were okay. Sorry,
I interrupted out. No, keep going.
Like I say, I thought we were okay. I thought we were in game up until 55 minutes, and we had some decent chances. And sort of just before half time, I'm thinking just nick a goal, because you almost felt it were coming.
Yeah.
But from 55 minutes onwards, they get their second goal, and we collapsed. It were almost effort had gone. It were like we were completely deflated. I think the Bolton games took a lot out of them, mentally and physically. To concede that late penalty and goal, it's got to hurt. And then, your mentality wise, you come into this next game, you think, oh yeah, it's another must win. We've got to do it, and then you concede some goals, and it's edge just went.
I mean, the bit that worries me, Tom, is I thought we did okay against Bolton in the first half. Like you said, for the first hour or so, and then in cricket terms, it was like a batting collapse both games. At least against Bolton, we tried to tackle.
Yeah, different though, Andy, because I think against Bolton, it was just we ran out of steam. I think we'd given so much, and I think nobody questioned our endeavour against Bolton. We sat back. I think we sat back because we naturally started to do that. I don't think it was tactical. I just think we were exhausted, and they just sort of when you do, you don't realise, but you start sitting back. Whereas yesterday, it came across. I'm not saying it was. It came across, particularly in the second half, like Tom's after 5 minutes. After they scored the second, it came across like we didn't care and we weren't bothered and we looked like a lack of effort. It was like a completely different mindset. I'm not saying that were the case because, I hope and I don't believe for 1 minute that they don't care, because they do care. I know they care, but it looked that way. And I think yesterday we had, normally you have 1 or 2 players that have an off game. We had 9 or 10. We've talked about MDG. He's been immense. He's been absolutely immense, probably pushing for player of the year, I think. He was dreadful. Josh Earl, who's been class since he arrived, generally, had a couple of little errors, but he had probably the worst game I've seen him play. Irby, we've talked about. I agree with you, Andy. Love him or hate him. He's a good footballer. He couldn't pass. Connell, nobody will praise more Connell than I will. He's outstanding. But even he couldn't find feet often. We had nothing up front. I just think the players that you expect to turn up every week didn't, but there were 8, 9, 10 of them. The subs did okay, a bit of endeavour, but again, didn't make any difference really, did they? A bit of energy maybe. But
don't get me started on John Russell, the sub.
Well, I won't talk about John Russell because I don't like singling players out, but for me, he's just not good enough, end of, and that's all I'm going to say on the matter. And I think when you're chasing a game, he's not a player that you need to bring on. But like I say, I'm not in. I actually thought Barry Cotter would have been a better option because he did injected a bit of energy. But, I think by that point, we were probably down and out anyway. But yeah, I hope that it's just like you say, Tom, just a hangover from Tuesday. And it's not, we've given up. I can't imagine that Collins, Devaney instead will allow that squad to give up. And I'll lead you right there, Andy, because it's all to go now on Tuesday, isn't it? It's all to go.
It's hard to pick them up in short space of time to come up against bottom at League One. That's a tough one. The mentality to get them in right frame of mind. I mean, Lincoln City yesterday were tearing at Tykes, wasn't it?
They were good, weren't they? I mean, I think first half, after they scored, they changed their game plan massively as well. Because in the first half, after they scored, they went really defensive. We couldn't break them down, not for lack of trying. So I thought we were pretty all right in the first half, other than not being able to finish. And then I expected that in the second half. I'd been saying at half time, oh, here we go now. They're going to have, because this was such a good defence. We'd heard from Jake Tong, the great defence. They don't score a lot, etc. I mean, he lulled us right into a false sense of security there. He's a wrong in him, Andy.
Yeah.
Him and his dad.
Yeah. So, and I thought second half it was going to be much of the same. To be fair to them, they came out and went for us, proper went for us. And I think we were like, oh my goodness, where's this come from? And then, like Tom said, we weren't equipped for it, and we got battered. End off. We got battered in second half.
Look, to cast your mind back, if you can, they say a week's a long time in politics. It's certainly a long time in football. A week ago, we're going up in second. We've got Bolton to play at home. We've got Lincoln to play at home. We could go up in second. Now, I'm seeing social media full of things like we're not even going to stay in the playoffs. So it's a long time. The bit that I find particularly disappointing on social media, particularly Twitter or X, call it what you want, cesspool, I think. The shame of it is that although we played poorly yesterday, it's the first defeat. We've hardly had any defeats recently of a recent months, and all of a sudden, people have come out of the woodwork to say, get Collins out, sack the board, that player's useless, that player's useless, that player's useless. And anybody that says anything in a more reasonable, balanced manner, happy clappers again. And I find that the most disappointing, really. We're all upset and we're all hurting, but there's no need for people to start on other fans. And I've seen it. There's a few fans forums that I look at, particularly the BBS fans forum, where, you know, there's one guy saying, basically sack everybody. Well, for me, sack yourself, mate, because it's not, you know, that's not the way. That's not the way forward. He did have a few people round on him. There's other places, you know. There's other places. There's Footy Mad that's all right as a fans forum. Have a read at that. And of course, Facebook, there's numerous fans groups, fans forums that I use are pretty all right, you know, pretty balanced. So, you know, people are entitled to their opinion, but
Collins.
Keep it balanced. That's all I'd say. You know, keep it balanced. Don't start. People are upset yesterday. I think, you know, I think we proved that. Me and Craig proved that yesterday on your instant reaction show, Tracy. Kicking, you know, can't remember. I know I use words like shameful and abject and what have you. So, you know, people hurt, and so, you know, you get on your keyboard and, you know, I just say it in front of the camera. But you know, in the cold light today, I think we need to decide or think about whether or not it's like every club has, and every club's had it up there, a blip that we can get out of. And these next two games against teams that are down at the bottom, you know, Carlisle can't buy a win at the minute. Hopefully, he'll continue not to buy a win. And then Charlton, not Charlton, and then Cheltenham. I do remember. Well, I don't remember because it's the one match I missed. The Carlisle game at home. I know we managed to win, but Leo that went said it weren't the best performance in the world, and we just managed to from a poor performance get a win. So to be honest, I'd settle for that. I'd settle for a winning goal off Devante's backside. I'd settle for anything on Tuesday night. So do we think it's a blip, or do we, you know, as I've said, all clubs have, or is it a bit? Are we going to start tumbling down like Craig used to say? And we took Mickey after him. Is Craig going to be proved right and we're going to drop out, or is it a blip? What do you think, Al?
Bad day at office, wasn't it? That's what it is. In my dad's day, they'd be all start shouting, stood up on Brewery stand. They don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it. I think they do want it. But it's one of these where, as I said, it was a very poor team performance. As I said, lackluster, disjointed. They've got to get it together, and they've got to get on training pitch. Whether they've got them in today, to be honest, I'd have them in today on Mother's Day and get in and go over it, talk about it, and get it out of the system, ready for Monday. You can't just let them dwell on it. You've got to debrief and get the players' mindset right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days before we head up to Carlisle.
What do you think, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I sit opposite Collins, literally straight across from him, and he was going ballistic. I don't think for 1 minute he weren't feeling what we were feeling. You know, he weren't happy with how the team were playing. He don't play on the pitch, and as Alan said, you know, he picked the same team. He didn't have a lot of option. McCart came in for Pines. I don't really know what else he could have done. People are calling for a change of formation. I think that's really difficult when you've played all season with the same formation. I think to change it is a risk, particularly when we've been playing reasonably well. Yeah, you know, Bolton have had their blip and everyone wanted Ian Everett sacking. Well, their fans did, didn't they, 3 weeks ago? And now, although when I looked yesterday, still fans wanted him sacking after the performance yesterday. So, you know, they've not been great. And I think Derby's I think they've been through their blip, which is probably the worry. But I think it's a blip. Having said that, we don't get anything out of the next two games, then the tide will turn significantly, both, I think, with the fans, even, you know, the happy clappers, if you like. I think the tide will turn because we have to get something out of the next two games. And looking at the two teams we're playing, it's a no-brainer. You know, I know it's a proverbial banana skin. Well, you've just got to we've got to now get 6 points. I don't think there's any. And looking at the fixtures, thankfully next weekend we've got Derby, Bolton, Peterborough, Portsmouth all play each other. So for me, that's then got to happen. Got to get 3 points Tuesday. Got to get 3 points next Saturday. If we do that this time next week, we could be sitting here again looking at within, you know, a point, 2 points of second with, you know, a game in hand again, or we could be looking at hanging on to sixth.
I guarantee you one thing, Tracy. if we get 6 points and they all drop points, Josh Atherton will be back on the show. I'll tell you that much. He'll not miss it. Tom, what do you think?
I think
More symptomatic.
I think we came up against two good sides. I mean, Bolton, they're up there for a reason. You know, they're a good side. You can't get away from it. And we led for vast majority of that game, and it was very disappointing that we sort of threw it away. And Lincoln, I mean, they're an informed team. It's not like they'll come in here and they're terrible. They're a good side. And I do think our home support don't help the team. We go 1-0 down, and you feel atmosphere change in ground. Sort of, it just feels like we had an extra pressure on, which is probably why we play so well away from home. Which I'm hoping Tuesday night away from home, bottom of league, should be the game that we need. We go there, we do the job, we get 3 points, and then we look to Cheltenham on Saturday and try and get another 3 points. But I think Tracy's right. If we don't start picking points up, even if performances are poor, if we don't start picking those points up, then we start looking over his shoulder rather than forward. But there's going to be plenty of twists and turns. There always is. I mean, Easter's coming up, and that always throws up some dodgy results. And
bit like yesterday.
Well, like I said, Lincoln came to us as an informed team. They were playing well. They've just got the strikers back. It's not like it's not like we're playing. No offense to Carlisle, it's not like we're playing them. It's not like we're looking at that game thinking this is a banker. I mean, in football, there's no such thing. But
I'm glad you said that, because you could get ego. You'll not be on show next week if we look at Carlisle. But you'll go in hiding as well.
No, but what I'm saying is Lincoln came to us in good form, as a good team, one of the best defences in league. So it's not like we're looking at that team thinking these are really poor. The climbing table, they're looking for playoffs. It's I don't think that it's the horrific. I mean, it is a horrific defeat, but I think it's a blip. I'm hoping it's a blip, and that we do the business on Tuesday night, and we get back into the swing of things. And like I said, I think there's plenty of twists and turns in this. We might not finish second, but I don't think we're going to drop out of the playoffs. And you can all we can do is hope. Basically, hope that we don't have to have another trip to Wembley, and we have to spend lots of money again, Andy.
It's the cost. It's the cost. I bought all this merch. I ain't got the money to be able to. The one thing about if we do get to Wembley, and it's we've got a few games to play before we manage to do that. Poor Noah's got his football team's presentation, so I don't think he'll be coming to Wembley. So I'm sorry for him, but I told him in the car going home, I'll save a few quid on it. He's not happy with me, but I said I'll save a few quid. So I don't know what he's going to do. So
he can watch it on Sky.
So we've not quite got to the stage where we think we should sack the board, sack the manager, sack the players, sack the fans, sack everybody. Sack Oakwell, sell Oakwell off and build houses. We've not got to that stage just yet then.
Not me personally. I've always thought Collins was quite a good manager, to be fair. Worked with what he had, and he's still working what he had. Because you look at that first 11 and you think, yeah, that could take us up. But then you start looking at bench and you think, well, what's really going to change coming off at bench? It's a bit difficult. Everyone's saying, oh, we should drop this player, we should drop that player, and you think, okay, but for who? I mean, we've got Grant in midfield, but then who else have you got? Defence, we've got McCart, but then again, who else have you got? Only place that we seem to have so many players is right wing back.
Anyway,
as you would say, Andy, one thrashing doesn't define the season.
No.
Is that what I say, Al?
Well,
It
yeah,
is now.
we're going to
I can if you want. I'll
You
say
said
it
we
if you want. Well, I think you brought me onto it, RL. I think we thrashed yesterday's game enough. I think that's more than enough thrashing of that. Let's look forward. Now, we got Carlisle away from home. 7 days is a long time in politics and football. 2 games coming up, 1 game at a time. So let's just talk about Carlisle because we can talk about Cheltenham on our match on our show. Sorry, on Wednesday night. So Tracy, you've got some stuff about Carlisle that you want to share with us all, haven't you? So what I thought about, Tracy, well, we could talk to you about the women's team, but there's been no to report. So the alternative was that we all sat here for 10 minutes in calm meditation about what's just happened and what's going to happen. But it'll be a bit boring for people to watch. I'm not just going to sit here and sit at home and just done out. So tell us about Carlisle.
Well, I will start with saying the ladies have got a big game. The women have got a big game today away at South Shield, so good luck. I don't know when this will go out, but hopefully it'll go out and they'll either be on the way to a win or they'll have got a win. So away at South Shields, good luck, Jess and the girls. Right, so Carlisle United. So as of yesterday, played 37, won 5, drawn 8, lost 24. That was their 11th loss in 12 games. The last 5 games at home they've lost. And their only win has been away at Burton Albion in the last 12, where they won 1-0. As Paul Simpson, who's their manager, I watched his press conference yesterday, and not his press conference, his post-match review. They lost 3-2 yesterday to 3-2. I think it was 3-2 to Charlton. Yeah, well, to be fair, Charlton are on the way up, aren't they? They've started to turn the tide. And he's basically resigned to the fact that they're relegated and used words like, we're just playing for pride now. So for me, that's, it's more or less they're done. So that will be a big game in terms of going there against a team who are playing literally for pride, because pretty much relegated for all intents and purposes. Sorry, Carlisle. I know mathematically they can get out, but I don't think there's a chance. They average less than a goal per game scored, and they concede on average 1.71 goals per game. So all that in line, I'm saying all this, and you're just at the back of your mind thinking, oh, goodness me. Key players for them, there's Sean Maguire, who played a lot in the Championship for Preston, although he's been on the bench. So, but he's got a lot of sort of quality and experience. And then they've got forward line, the lad who scored against us, Luke Armstrong, who they signed from Harrogate in January, who was I think he was going to Wrexham, so he was quite sought after. And I thought he played very well against us. Although we were poor again in that game. He played quite well, and I thought he was a threat. So let's hope our defence is more switched on than it was yesterday. So he's sort of there. He's not their leading marksman because they haven't scored many goals, but he's definitely a player to watch. Then there's also Jack Diamond, who's on loan from Sunderland. Again, he's in and out of the team, but I think he's started the last few games. And then their leading scorer is Jordan Gibson, who's like a winger that comes in and scores, but he's the last 2 games he's been on the bench. Now I've tried to have a look. I can't see he's injured or anything, so I don't know if he's just fallen out of favour, not been playing well, but he's actually their leading goal scorer. I think he's scored 6 or 7 in all competitions, and he's had 2 assists. So again, it's not a lot, but that's sort of sums them up as a side. They did all right when they first came up, but they've sort of since Christmas they've basically capitulated and fallen to pieces. So I think it's League 2 bound for them.
What's your thoughts, Al? What are you thinking?
I hope it's not a banana skin. It could be another one, couldn't it? That's the thing. The mentality of the team, and are we going to move forward after this debacle yesterday? Hopefully they'll be up for it, and we've got to come out firing on all cylinders straight away from the whistle, and we've got to take the game to them. We've got to get that first goal. We've got to push on. And if we don't, then it's going to be hard, because Carlisle, as I said, they scored 2 goals yesterday at Charlton. They're going to be thinking, after Barnsley losing to Lincoln, we can do them. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a hard night, and let's see what happens round about 20 to 10 on Tuesday evening.
I know what Tracy's prediction is going to be. It's going to be 1.7-0.
1.71.
I'm pining for it though, because Donovan should be back.
Well, we don't know, Al, do we? We don't know. We know he got an injury against Bolton that he continued with. We don't know if he's going to be. It's to be hoped he'll be back because he's.
But one man don't make a difference to a team, does it?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't, Al. It shouldn't. But let's hope it don't. Let's hope the next few days brings a reaction in the most positive of ways. Tom, what are you thinking? Before we get to predictions, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, like I said earlier, this is the perfect game for us to go and show what we can do. They don't score a lot and they concede quite a bit. So this should be a game that we look at and think we can get goals. There's goals in it. Hopefully, Devante finishes his dry spell and sort of can hit a bit of form towards the end of the season. But yeah, I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to do it, especially away from home. And with great support that we've got, I'm making the trip, since though we've not played them since I think the 70s, before I were even born. So I've never been to Carlisle, so I'm going to tick a ground off.
Can't help yourself, can you? Before I were born, can't help yourself.
The thing is to everyone.
Can't help it, Al.
The thing is to everyone who's going to step in for Kane. That's the one. If he's suspended, does Grant step in?
I'd say so.
For me, I'd chuck one of the youngsters in. I'd put Vim or Younger Nathan in. That's my.
He's not even been on the bench though, has he? I just don't think he'll throw him in. I mean, we're under pressure. I think in terms of we need, like we said, we need points. I don't think he'll throw somebody from not even being in the squad to start. I don't think he'll do that.
There's a few.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't think he will.
There's a few options for me. It could be Conor Grant coming in. He's been coming on lately, and he's not had a start, so he could come in. Or he could even drop McAtee back into midfield. That's happened sometimes, and bring Cosgrove on. So there's there's different options, and I think
the problem if he drops McAtee back into midfield, then that leaves us short on options up front.
I know to change it. I know.
Yeah.
But Waters is back fit, isn't he? And in theory, I guess can step up to the bench. Although
it was interesting what he said to me yesterday. He was there in fan zone yesterday, and I said congratulating 2 goals in under 21s, which he did. And it were if Gaffer likes me, so it's one of them, innit?
I mean, he hasn't played well, has he? Let's be honest. So he needs to. And obviously, Marsh being on the bench in front of him probably tells you something, but I suppose he's an option.
It is. So let's get round to predictions, and let's try. I'm going to try and be upbeat. Alan, give me a prediction. Smile at me, Al.
Have I got to?
Well, you don't have to. It's just.
Have I really? Oh dear.
Well, hold on. Before you do, let me say this. I've missed a bit out. Let me say this. We've just finished the third mini comp league, and I were a bit naughty in the comments because at the top of the table were Reese Pearce, and then just behind him, 1 point behind him, were both myself and Wayne Amerton. Now, when I was reading the comments, the predictions in the lead up to the Lincoln game, they'd both gone 2-1. Which meant that Reese were automatically going to win no matter what. So I mentioned it. Mentioned it. I mentioned it to Wayne and said, "You do realise you can't win with 2-1, don't you?" And oh yeah, right. So he changed his score to 2-0. Reese. So then I said to Reese, "You do realise that Wayne's changed his thing." So Reese went 3-1. So like a wrong un, I told Wayne and said, he's gone 3-1 now. Wayne said, in that case, I'm going back to 2-1. So there were a lot up in and going, what's going to happen? So it was going to be at least as interesting as the game itself. Which way is it going to go? Who's going to win? Is it going to be Reese? Is it going to be Wayne? Well, it's Reese, because it fizzed out like a damp squid when the second goal went in. It all fizzed out. And what I would say is, Reece Pearce, you're the winner of the mini comp. Hard luck, Wayne. You come close. So we'll be in touch. Tom will be in touch with you, Reece, and we'll have to decide what merch you want. Red all over shop, T-shirts, which I know you've got, a camper mug. What more do you want? Number of things there, Reece. So from the Carlisle game, don't know how many games there's going to be in it, but it's going to be the final mini competition as well as the normal one throughout the whole season that I'm top of, although I might come tumbling down with me 2-1s at this rate. Final mini competition of the season, it might be over 10 games if we go up automatically or indeed drop out. 10 games. It could be 12 games if we get to the playoffs. It could be 13 games if we get to Wembley. So it's all up in the air. 10, 12, 13, who knows? All I do know is if you're not in it, you can't win it. So get predicting in the mini league. It's all to play for. We're all starting from scratch. 3 points for the correct score, 1 point for the correct result. Absolutely nothing to getting it completely wrong. Nothing at all. So get it in the comments. You know it makes sense. Right. Let's see if Al can do something in this competition, because he's been a bit like yesterday, really. He's been abject. Him and Josh have been abject in the prediction league. So come on, Al. You've got one final chance to redeem yourself. Where are you going, wait, Al? What's your prediction, Al?
Well, I'm hoping there's going to be some bounce back ability. So I'm going.
Can't help it. That's another tick off at bingo card, Tom.
Come on, mate. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to stuff them 4-1.
Like I said, Al, I thought
it's not going to be easy, but it is.
Like I said, Al, you've got a chance.
I'm a daydream believer. You've got to believe. If you don't believe, you've got to look forward to something after yesterday, ain't you? You can't just think, oh, it's going to be a drab affair again, isn't it? You've got to be positive.
What did you say about yesterday's score, Al? What was yesterday's score going to be, Al?
4-0.
4-0, yeah. 0-2, Al. So you know when I said try and redeem yourself off at last mini comp, Al, you aren't. Tracy.
I'm coming off fence. I'm right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you give us a bit more notice than that, Tracy? Don't just come out with it.
Yeah, for big running, I'm off that fence. Yeah, I'm completely optimistic. We have to win. I think everyone knows we've got to win. I think they're going to set up to go at them. Yeah, 3-0 win, Reds.
Wow, you are happy clappers, aren't you? They weren't wrong on Twitter, were they? Tom, bring some common sense to it all, Tom.
Tom's going. Come on, Tom.
Well, I've got no common sense at all, to be fair.
I know, but I'm trying to build you up into being something you're not.
I was going to go 3-0 like Tracy, to be fair, but I think I'm going to go 2-0. I think we're struggling a little bit for goals. I think we're not shooting like we were. So we're not pulling that trigger, and I think we'll win, and I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be fairly comfortable, but yeah, I'm going 2-0.
How can you keep talking when he's got that face on?
I think it's.
I'm just ignoring it. I'm just completely ignoring it.
Well, for a split second, Tom, I didn't realise he put a face on. I thought Al were looking particularly fragrant on this show. No, there's no words for it. Well, I'm going to take Tracy's position, I think, because I think, we're going to have to claw our way out of this. And I think, I just think you're all saying it's a must win. I don't think anything's a must win. I think the next 7 days will be important. But I think based on how they played at Oakwell and how we've been playing recently, I think we could well draw. So I'm going 2-1 to Barnsley.
I mean, it weren't even a surprise setup. We all knew where it was going.
Yeah, but we've got you know, we've got a couple of people that miss it. If I just say, oh, I'm going to enter one and don't have a build up, I know you all know where it's going to be. Everybody knows where it's going to be until it's not. So don't count all your chickens at once. Some people like the build up. And remember, I'm big in Miami, and we all pies that I've nicked off Craig after a Bolton match. You know, I'm big all over. So
Can't we have a T-shirt for Andy? I'm a 2-1er.
don't encourage him. For God's sake, don't encourage him, Al.
And I've won it. WONNA. I'm a 2-1er.
Alan, he's going to take it to heart and he's going to start producing stuff like that. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this, because it reminds each and every day, Al. It reminds me of you. Reminds me of you each and every day. Or at this minute, Jake Tong. Because what I will say is, I know it'll come as a surprise to you all. I keep getting messages from him. I know that'll be a big surprise. His first one, and then he waxed lyrical. His first one just said, "Wow." Oh, anyway, we'll see. I'm big in Miami, so that's good enough for me. Not anywhere else, apart from here in my own head. So, only things left to say is say goodbye, Al, Tracy, and Tom.
Bye.
Bye.
You know, you've let me down. I thought all three of you were going to say goodbye, Alan, Tracy, and Tom. I thought you were all going to say it together. You're not seeing the old jokes, have you? Never mind.
All one's up best, Andy.
All I've got left to say is, they think it's red all over. It is now.